Happy Monday, y'all. This is Charlene from Lady in Waiting 222, and today is our Monday mini devotional. So we'll be reading from 2 Kings chapter 5. I want to read verse 1 and then verses 9 through 13, and we'll be focusing specifically on verse 11. I want to highlight this here. And as the title says, I don't really want to be healed. So let's read. 2 Kings chapter 5, verse 1. I'm reading from the New Living Translation. It says, The king of Aram had great admiration for Naaman, the commander of his army, because through him the Lord had given Aram great victories. But though Naaman was a mighty warrior, he suffered from leprosy. Verse 9. So Naaman went with his horses and chariots and waited at the door of Elisha's house. But Elisha sent a messenger out to him with this message: Go and wash yourself 7 times in the Jordan River. Then your skin will be restored, and you will be healed of your leprosy. But Naaman became angry and stalked away. I thought he would certainly come out to meet me, he said. I expected him to wave his hand over the leprosy and call on the name of the Lord, his God, and heal me. Aren't the rivers of Damascus, the Abana, and Pharpar better than any of the rivers of Israel? Why shouldn't I wash in them and be healed? So Naaman turned and went away in a rage. Verse 13. But his officers tried to reason with him and said, Sir, if the prophet had told you to do something very difficult, wouldn't you have done it? So you should certainly obey him when he says simply, Go and wash and be cured. Oh, there's a lot to unpack here, but we're going to focus on verse 11. But Naaman became angry and stalked away. So the story is Naaman is the commander of the Syrian army, of the king of Aram army, and he was well loved, he was well favored, but although he was a mighty warrior, it says in verse 1, he suffered from leprosy. And leprosy in biblical times was really a disease that was considered something that was a curse from God, so to speak. And so when you had leprosy, you had to kind of be outside of the communal or the community, right? Because it was considered unclean. So here it is, a mighty warrior, but the only thing was he suffered from leprosy. And as time went on, there was a young girl who was captured and ended up becoming Naaman's wife's servant or maid servant. And she knew of the prophet Elisha and mentioned to the wife, hey, I think that the prophet Elisha would be able to heal your husband of leprosy. So she mentioned it to him, and Naaman heard and proceeded to go to King Aram. And, he sent him to the prophet Elisha. So here it is. He went with his horses and chariots and waited at the door of Elisha's house. But pay attention here. The process of Naaman's healing was literally wrapped up in something that he was required to do. As you see here, he said, I thought, I expected, why shouldn't I? Right? And so he assumed that it was not going to be anything that was required on his part where he would be able to receive his healing. He just figured that, hey, Elisha could wave his hand over the leprosy. He could, pray and call on the name of the Lord, and I would be healed. But it requires something of Naaman to be able to receive his healing. He obviously didn't want it. And it was really pride and arrogance that really kept him from his healing, right? Because of arrogance and pride, he was literally willing to walk away from the opportunity to be healed from this disease. Even though, as his officers told him, the instructions are simple, they're not difficult. How many times has God called you to do something that required you to really pretty much humble yourself, right? And you refuse to do it because of pride or arrogance and missed out or could potentially miss out on your healing. Imagine that. So you also want to make sure you pay attention to the fact that get you some people around you. Make sure that you are surrounded by those friends, loved ones who are going to be committed to your obedience even when you are not. When they are so committed to your obedience that they will call you out and say, like, look, sis, look, bro. These instructions are simple. Just do it. Your healing may be tied up to to you releasing forgiveness to someone, or asking for forgiveness, or forgiving someone. If your healing is connected to something that it seems simple, but for some reason your arrogance and your pride will not allow you to follow the instructions, and it's arrogance or pride keeping you from your full healing, ask those around you, is there something that I should be doing or I need to be doing to receive my healing today? Ask the Lord, where am I not being obedient to something that you have called me to do? Whether he actually told you specifically or he said it in his word, that literally your healing could be tied up in. I pray that you all are challenged, right? Convicted as I was when I read this, right? And I ask you to just search your heart this week and ask the Lord. Now go and be blessed and encouraged, and we'll talk again soon. Take care.